I was standing at the airport check-in counter holding 2 cruise tickets to the Caribbean. My brother Marcus stood beside me, fidgeting with excitement because it was his first time on a plane. 3 weeks ago, I had to cancel my wedding to Jessica. Everyone thought I was crazy. But watching Marcus's face light up as he stared at the departure board, I knew I had made the only choice that mattered. People can call it reckless. They can say I threw away my future. But standing there about to board a $20,000 honeymoon cruise with my autistic brother instead of my fiancée, I felt freer than I had in months. Before I tell you what led to this moment, I would love to know, where are you watching from? Drop a comment below. If you have ever had to choose between someone you love and someone who does not respect them, hit that like button and subscribe, because this story gets a whole lot more intense before it gets better. Trust me, you will want to hear how a wedding dress ended up in a closet while I was sipping margaritas on a ship deck with my best friend. Now let me take you back to where it all started. I met Jessica at a charity event 2 years before all of this went down. She was working as an event coordinator, and I had volunteered as a software engineer to help set up their donation system. I remember she came over to my table where I was explaining the technology to a group of kids, and something about the way she watched me made my heart skip. She was smart, gorgeous, ambitious. After the event, she asked for my number, and within 3 months we were inseparable. Those early days felt like a dream. Jessica knew how to make me feel special. We would spend evenings cooking together in my apartment, her teaching me recipes her grandmother had passed down me, burning half of them while she laughed. We took weekend trips to vineyards, hiking trails, small coastal towns. I introduced her to my friends, and they loved her energy. I brought her home to meet my parents, and Mom said she saw something genuine in Jessica's eyes. Everything seemed to fit perfectly into place. After a year and a half, I proposed at the same charity venue where we had met. I had coordinated with the organizers to let me use the space after hours. When Jessica walked in and saw the lights, the photos from our time together, and me on one knee, she cried. She said yes before I even finished my speech. We started planning a spring wedding immediately. I thought I had found my person, the one I would build a life with, the one who would stand beside me through everything. But I need to tell you about Marcus before this makes sense. My brother is 4 years younger than me, 26 years old at the time of this story. When he was 3, doctors diagnosed him with autism spectrum disorder. Marcus is high functioning, which means he can hold conversations and live somewhat independently. But he has certain traits that make life harder. He struggles with eye contact. Loud noises overwhelm him. He needs routine and predictability, or he gets anxious. And he has this special interest in ships and the ocean. Ever since he was little, Marcus would spend hours watching documentaries about marine life, cruise ships, naval history. It was his world. Marcus lived with our parents and worked part-time at the local library, shelving books and helping with inventory. I have always been protective of him. Back in high school, I got into 2 fights defending Marcus from kids who made fun of him. Our parents worked long hours running their small business, so I became Marcus's primary caretaker in a lot of ways. Every Friday night without fail, Marcus and I would watch ocean documentaries together. It was our thing. When I got the promotion at work, Marcus was the first person I told. When I was stressed about a project deadline, Marcus would sit with me and just be present, asking simple questions that somehow made everything clearer. So when I told Marcus I was engaged, his face lit up in that pure, unfiltered way that only Marcus can manage. He asked me immediately, "Can I come to your wedding?" I did not even hesitate. "Of course, buddy. You will be my best man." Marcus started preparing right away. He practiced making small talk with strangers. He bought a new suit and would try it on every few days to make sure it still fit. He began writing notes for a best man speech, working on it with the dedication he usually reserved for his ocean research. Watching him put in that effort, pushing past his comfort zone because he loved me, it made me emotional in a way I cannot fully describe. That should have been the end of it. My brother would stand beside me at my wedding, and life would move forward. But 3 months before the ceremony, cracks started showing. Jessica and I were at a coffee shop reviewing the seating chart, and I mentioned where Marcus would sit during the reception. Jessica went quiet for a moment. stirring her latte slowly. Then she said, "Actually, I wanted to talk about that. Is Marcus really going to be the best man I looked at?" Her confused. "Yeah, I told you that from the beginning. He is my brother." She shifted in her seat. "I know, but weddings are stressful, and with his condition, I just wonder if it is the best idea." I felt a small knot form in my stomach, but I pushed it aside. I explained that Marcus had been practicing, that he was doing great, that he would not cause any problems. "I promise, Jess. He will be fine." She nodded, but her expression remained tense. "Okay, if you are sure," she said, though her voice did not sound convinced. I tried to brush off the uncomfortable feeling. I told myself Jessica was just anxious about the wedding being perfect, which is normal. Every bride wants their day to go smoothly. I did not see it as a red flag. I should have. Over the next few weeks, Jessica would drop little comments here and there. Maybe we should have a backup plan if Marcus gets overwhelmed. Should we seat him near an exit, just in case? Have you thought about who else could be best man if needed? Each time I had to reassure her, defend Marcus, explain that he was capable and excited. It started to wear on me. Every conversation felt like I was fighting a small battle, and I did not understand why. Why could not she just accept that my brother was important to me? Why did she keep treating Marcus like he was a problem waiting to happen? But I loved Jessica. I wanted to marry her. So I convinced myself she would come around once she spent more time with Marcus, once she saw how hard he was working. I told myself she would come around. I told myself love meant understanding. I had no idea how wrong I was. 6 weeks before the wedding, everything exploded. We had a meeting scheduled with our wedding planner, Patricia, at her downtown office. Patricia was efficient, maybe a bit intense, but she had great reviews. We were going over final details, the timeline for the ceremony where each member of the wedding party would stand when speeches would happen. I was actually feeling good seeing it all come together. Then Patricia asked about the best man speech. I smiled. "Marcus is working on it. He has been practicing." Before I could say more, Jessica cut in. "Actually, Patricia, I think we need to reconsider." I turned to look at her blindsided. "Jess, what are you saying?" Jessica did not look at me. She kept her eyes on Patricia and said Francis's brother has special needs. "I am worried it might create issues during the ceremony." The room went silent. Patricia glanced between us uncomfortably. I felt heat rising in my face. "Jess, Marcus will not have a meltdown. He is not a child." Jessica's voice got sharper. "But loud noises stress him out, Francis. There will be music people talking everywhere, cameras flashing in his face. What if he cannot handle it?" I kept my voice as calm as I could. "So we make accommodations. We prepare him. We have been preparing him for months." Jessica turned to me finally, and her eyes were frustrated. "This is our day, Francis. Can you not understand that?" I stared at her. "Our day, Marcus is family. He is part of our day." Patricia tried to intervene, suggesting we table the discussion, but it was too late. The meeting ended with tension so thick I could barely breathe. In the car ride home, neither of us spoke for the first 10 minutes. I drove gripping the steering wheel, trying to process what had just happened. Jessica sat in the passenger seat, staring out the window. Finally, I could not take it anymore. "Why did you not tell me you felt this way?" she whipped around. "I tried. You never listen." "I listen," I shot back. "I just do not agree with excluding my brother from my wedding." She started crying then. "You do not get it. I have been planning this for over a year, Francis. Every single detail has to be perfect." "Perfect?" I asked. "At what cost?" She wiped her eyes angrily. "At the cost of our wedding not being ruined by someone who cannot control himself." I slammed on the brakes and pulled over to the side of the road. My hands were shaking. "Take that back, right now." Jessica looked at me defiantly through her tears. "I will not. I am being honest, Francis. Marcus does not belong there." The words hit me like a punch. "If he does not belong, then neither do I." Jessica scoffed. "You are being ridiculous." This is about being practical. No, I said quietly. This is about you showing your true colors. And they are ugly, Jess, she gasped. How dare you? How dare you talk about Marcus? Like he is some kind of problem to be fixed. The silence that followed was suffocating. Jessica finally whispered, maybe we need some time apart. Maybe we do, I agreed. I drove her home without another word exchanged between us. 2 days later, I went to my parents' house. I needed to see Marcus, needed to ground myself. I found him in his bedroom wearing his new suit, practicing his speech in front of the mirror. I stood outside his door listening. Francis is my hero, Marcus said to his reflection, his voice shaking slightly with nerves. He always protected me when kids were mean. He always made time for me, even when he was busy. Today I get to stand beside him, and I want him to know how proud I am. My throat tightened. I knocked softly and went in. Marcus turned smiling. Hey, Francis. Do you think my speech is okay? I sat on his bed. It is perfect, buddy. He sat beside me and we were quiet for a moment. Then I went downstairs and found Mom in the kitchen. She took one look at my face and asked, something is wrong, is it not? I told her everything. About Jessica's comments, the meeting with Patricia, the fight in the car. Mom listened without interrupting, her hands folded on the table. When I finished, she was quiet for a long moment. Then she asked, What are you going to do? I do not know, Mom. I love her, but I trailed off. But she does not love all of you, Mom finished. She does not love the part of you that is Marcus's brother. The truth of that statement settled over me like a weight. Mom reached across and took my hand. Your father and I raised you to protect your brother. That does not stop when you get married, Francis. What if I lose her? I asked. Mom squeezed my hand. What if you lose yourself? That night I received a text from Jessica. It was long, clearly, something she had been composing for a while. Francis, I have been thinking a lot. I love you and I want to marry you. But I need you to understand my perspective. This wedding costs $43,000. My parents are flying in from Seattle. We have 200 guests confirmed. I cannot risk anything going wrong. Marcus is sweet, but he is unpredictable. So here is my compromise. Marcus can come to the wedding as a guest, but not as best man. We will ask your cousin Derek instead. And honestly, maybe it is better if Marcus sits this one out entirely. He can watch the video later. I know you will do the right thing. I know you love me enough to understand. We can have kids someday, and Marcus can be an uncle. That is his role. Let us not confuse things. I read the message once, then I read it again. The first time I felt shock. The second time, rage. By the third reading, I felt something else entirely. A cold, clear certainty. I looked at the photo of Marcus in his suit on my phone. Then I looked at a photo of Jessica and me from last Christmas. I put the phone down and did not respond that night. Instead, I sat in the darkness of my living room and made a plan. By morning, I knew exactly what I had to do. And it started with a phone call to our travel agent. The next morning, I called the travel agent who had booked our honeymoon cruise. Hi, this is Francis Cooper. I need to cancel my honeymoon cruise reservation. There was a pause on the other end. Oh no. Is everything okay? Actually, I said I need to rebook it. Same dates, same Caribbean route, but I need to change one passenger name. The agent sounded confused but professional. Okay. What is the change? I took a breath. Remove Jessica Winters. Add Marcus Cooper. There was another pause. That is unusual. But I can do that. You will keep the same package, the 10-day all-inclusive Caribbean cruise honeymoon suite, $20,000 total. Yes, I confirmed. Perfect. Since you are keeping the booking, we will waive the name change fee. After I hung up, I drove straight to my parents' house. Marcus was in his room and I could tell something was bothering him. He looked up when I came in. Did Jessica change her mind? Can I still be best man? His voice was small, worried. I sat down beside him. Marcus, I have something better planned. I told him about the cruise, about the Caribbean islands, the ocean he had dreamed about his entire life, the ships he had studied in every documentary. I explained we would go together, just the two of us. His eyes went wide. But your honeymoon, your wedding. I put my hand on his shoulder. Some things are more important than a wedding buddy. Like the person who has always had my back. Marcus stared at me for several seconds, processing. Then he threw his arms around me and started crying. I held him tight, and I was crying too. We are going to see the ocean, Marcus. Just like you always dreamed. When he finally pulled back, he was smiling through his tears. You are really choosing me over Jessica. I am choosing what is right. I am choosing family. I am choosing the person who never asked me to be anyone other than who I am. That afternoon, I texted Jessica back. You are right. Let us talk in person tomorrow. She responded within minutes, clearly relieved. Thank you for understanding. I knew you would come around. I love you. I did not respond. Instead, I started making calls. I contacted the wedding venue and explained I needed to cancel. I called Patricia and apologized for the short notice. I sent messages to the vendors. Each conversation was brief and professional. People asked questions, but I did not offer much explanation. Just that the wedding was not happening and I would handle any financial penalties. 2 days before the wedding was supposed to take place, I asked Jessica to meet me at our usual restaurant. It was a nice place downtown where we had celebrated anniversaries and promotions. She showed up looking beautiful, smiling, clearly believing this was a reconciliation dinner. She slid into the booth across from me. I am so glad you agreed to meet. I knew you would see reason. I folded my hands on the table. I did come around, I said. Just not the way you expected. She tilted her head, confused. What do you mean I have been thinking about your message? You are right about one thing. I need to do what is right. She relaxed visibly. Exactly, so Derek will be best man and Marcus can. No, I interrupted. There will not be a best man. Because there will not be a wedding. The restaurant noise seemed to fade. Jessica stared at me. What I am calling it off. I contacted the venue this morning. Cancelled everything. Her face went pale. You are joking. I reached into my jacket and pulled out a small envelope, sliding it across the table. That is your engagement ring. And a check for half the deposits we cannot get refunded. I will cover my half. Jessica's hands were shaking as she opened the envelope. Francis, no. No, you cannot do this, I can. I said calmly. And I did. But the guests, my parents, the money we spent, you cared about all of that more than you cared about my brother. That told me everything I needed to know. She was crying now, mascara starting to run. I was just trying to protect our day. You were trying to erase part of who I am. Marcus is not a problem to solve, Jessica. He is my family, so you are choosing him over me. Her voice cracked. I am choosing self-respect. I am choosing loyalty. I am choosing love that does not come with conditions. I stood up, placing cash on the table for my untouched water. Oh, and about that $20,000 honeymoon cruise, she looked up, her eyes red. What about it? I am still going. Just not with you. Marcus and I leave tomorrow. She looked like I had slapped her. You are taking your brother on our honeymoon. It was never ours, I said. It is mine, and I am sharing it with someone who deserves it. I walked out of that restaurant and did not look back. That night my phone exploded. Jessica called 14 times. I did not answer. She sent texts that ranged from begging to angry to begging again. Her parents called trying to reason with me. I was polite but firm. I am sorry for the inconvenience, but my decision is final. Some mutual friends reached out. Dude, you are throwing away a relationship over this, one of them asked. But others understood. Man, I respect that. Family first. My parents hugged me when I told them it was done. You did the right thing, son, Dad said. Mom just held my hand and nodded. Late that night, I got one final text from Jessica. I hope you are happy. You just ruined both our lives over someone who cannot even understand what you sacrificed. I read it sitting on my couch, Marcus asleep in the guest room after we had spent the evening packing. I did not feel angry. I just felt sad for her. I typed back one last message. Marcus understands more than you ever will. I hope someday you learn what love really means. Goodbye, Jessica. No. Then I blocked her number and all her social media accounts. That chapter was closed. The next morning, Marcus and I loaded our suitcases into my car. He kept looking at me nervously. Are you sad about Jessica? A little, I admitted. But I am more excited about our trip. He smiled at that. Me too. Then he asked quietly, Francis, yeah, buddy, thank you for choosing me. I know it was hard. I pulled him into a hug. It was the easiest choice I ever made. We drove to the airport as the sun came up, and I felt lighter than I had in months. The wedding dress would never be worn. The cake would never be cut. But my brother, my best friend, was smiling beside me. And that was worth more than any ceremony. As we boarded that plane, I watched Marcus press his face against the window during takeoff, his eyes huge with wonder. He had never flown before, and every moment was magic to him. The cruise ship was even better. When we first walked up the gangway and Marcus saw the massive vessel, the ocean, stretching endlessly beyond it, he grabbed my arm. This is real. This is really happening. Yeah, buddy. This is really happening. The first few days on the ship were an adjustment. The crowds made Marcus nervous initially, and the loud dinner shows were overwhelming. But we found rhythms that worked. We would wake up early and go to the top deck before most passengers were awake, watching the sunrise over the water. Marcus would stand at the railing for hours just staring at the waves, completely at peace. We signed up for activities he felt comfortable with, snorkeling in calm bays. Educational talks about marine biology, quiet dinners at smaller restaurants on the ship. On the fourth day, we docked in the Bahamas. I had booked a private snorkeling tour, just Marcus and me with a guide. We went to a reef known for sea turtles. When Marcus first ducked his head underwater and saw the coral, the fish, the entire underwater world, he surfaced with tears in his eyes. Francis, it is even better than the documentaries. We saw 3 sea turtles that day. Marcus held my hand underwater, squeezing it every time we spotted something new. His joy was so pure, so unfiltered, that I found myself crying behind my snorkel mask. That evening, we sat on our private balcony. The honeymoon suite came with this huge space overlooking the ocean. Marcus had not stopped talking about the turtles, the coral, the way the light filtered through the water. Eventually, he went quiet and said, "This is the best week of my life, Francis." "Mine too, buddy." He looked at me seriously. "Better than your wedding would have been. 1,000,000 times better." He bit his lip. "I am sorry I caused problems." "You did not cause anything," I told him firmly. "You revealed the truth, and I am grateful for that." As the days passed, I realized something. I was not sad about Jessica anymore. When I thought about her, I just felt relieved. I had dodged a bullet. If I had married her, I would have spent my entire life defending Marcus, justifying his existence, making him feel like a burden. Every family gathering would have been tense. Every holiday would have involved Jessica making pointed comments. I would have been torn in half trying to keep peace while watching my brother be treated like an inconvenience. That life would have been torture. But here on this ship, there was no tension. Just 2 brothers enjoying something Marcus had dreamed about since childhood. We ate too much food at the buffets. We watched the evening shows from the back where the crowd was thinner. We explored every port from Jamaica to Grand Cayman to Cozumel. Marcus collected shells and took approximately 700 photos. At night, we would sit on the balcony and talk about everything and nothing. These were the moments that mattered. This was what love actually looked like. On our last night aboard the ship, there was a formal dinner. Marcus wore his suit, the same one he had bought for the wedding that never happened. We sat at a table for 2 by the window. The sunset painted the sky, orange and pink. Marcus raised his glass of sparkling cider. "To the best big brother in the world." I raised my water glass to the best travel companion I could ask for. We clinked glasses, and I felt a sense of completeness I had never experienced before. This was where I was supposed to be. When we returned home 10 days later, Marcus talked nonstop to our parents. He showed them every photo, every video, every shell he had collected. Mom and Dad watched him with tears in their eyes. Later, when Marcus was in his room organizing his souvenirs, Dad pulled me aside. "You gave him the world, son." I shook my head. He gave me perspective. In the weeks and months that followed, some people still thought I had overreacted. "You could have just postponed the wedding," a coworker suggested. But I knew better. Postponing would not have fixed the core issue. Jessica did not respect Marcus. She saw him as a complication, something to be managed or hidden. Marrying her would have meant a lifetime of that attitude. Every achievement Marcus had would be downplayed. Every family event would involve negotiations about his participation. That was not a life I wanted. The people who truly mattered understood. My closest friends told me they were proud of me. My parents said they had never been more certain they raised me right. And Marcus framed a photo from the cruise, the two of us on the deck with the ocean behind us, and put it on his dresser. Sometimes I catch him looking at it with this small smile, and I know I made the right choice. I started dating again after several months, but this time I was clear from the beginning. Marcus is part of my life, non-negotiable. If a woman could not accept that next, I was not in a hurry. I focused on my career, my family, my friendships. Marcus still came over every Friday night to watch documentaries. We started planning another trip, maybe Alaska, to see whales. Life became simpler but richer. The noise of wedding planning, of trying to please everyone, of defending my choices, all of that fell away. What remained was what actually mattered. People still ask me if I regret it. If I ever wonder what life would have been like if I had just gone through with the wedding. The truth, I do not wonder. I know. I would have spent my life apologizing for the people I love, hiding parts of myself to keep the peace, building a home on a foundation of shame and compromise. Instead, I chose the waves. I chose my brother. I chose myself. Here is what I learned. Real love does not ask you to choose between parts of yourself. It does not demand you sacrifice the people who have always been there for you. Real love embraces all of you, including the complicated parts, the difficult parts, the parts that do not fit neatly into someone else's perfect picture. Jessica wanted a version of me that did not include Marcus as a full member of my life. That version does not exist. And I am glad I figured that out before I made a promise I would have regretted. Marcus taught me more about loyalty and love than any romantic relationship ever has. He never asked me to be anything other than his brother. He never demanded I prove my love by excluding others. He just showed up every Friday night ready to watch documentaries and eat popcorn. That consistency, that unconditional acceptance, that is what family really means. So if you ever find yourself at a crossroads like I was, where someone you love demands you betray who you are or abandon the people who need you, I hope you have the courage to walk away. I hope you choose yourself and your values over someone else's vision of perfection. Because the people who truly love you, they will never force you to make that choice. They will stand beside you and your brother and whoever else matters to you, no questions asked. The $20,000 I spent on that cruise was the best money I ever invested. Not because of the luxury ship or the beautiful islands, although those were incredible, but because I got to see my brother experience pure joy. I got to be the person I always promised him I would be. I got to prove that my loyalty was not conditional on anyone else's approval. And I got to learn that sometimes the bravest thing you can do is say no to a future that requires you to betray your past. Now I want to hear from you. Have you ever had to choose between a relationship and your family? What did you do, and do you regret it? Drop your story in the comments below. If this story resonated with you, hit that like button and share it with someone who needs to hear this message. And please subscribe to this channel for more real-life stories about choosing yourself and standing up for what matters. Thank you for listening to my story. I hope it reminds you that you are never wrong for protecting the people you love. May you always have the courage to choose loyalty over convenience, and may you find people who never ask you to make that choice. Take care of yourselves and each other.